2019 February Panama mission back at the Rio Hotel in Rio Alto, Panama, where we base because it is more reasonable to stay there than to piecemeal our trip. Bob and Debbie came along with us, and Julie and Jim Wiltrout, as we worked the first day in Oaxaca. You can see them crossing the bridge. We trained this group on the chlorine generators and the animal projects. You can see Ephraim and Radamet and Bela, our translator, working there. Maria's in the picture there. We've known her for many, many years. And we're right down by the bridge training them. And the people were very responsive and signed up to take on a number of the chlorine generators, as well as to volunteer for pig projects. 4 of them received Jesus there at that meeting. Then in the evening, Debbie King had her first training of the worship team at Ephraim's church, and she began to help them to hear the music better and to begin to more skillfully lead the congregation. This was the first training session. And then we had an evening service where Bob and Debbie greeted the crowd, and so did Jim and Julie. And then I preached from Philippians 3, and pretty much the whole congregation came forward to admit they needed to press on for the highest calling, stop looking back and listening to the lies of the devil, and press on to serve Jesus. The next morning, we went out to this rural area about an hour from Panama. Nice new road there. It's not paved, but it's crushed stone that's been packed down. You see the chickens running around, and the rural area behind the house. We met in this little simple house with a group of the people to train them on the chlorine generators and the animal projects. And so see Bob and Debbie with a group of the folks there, and they gathered. More came as the hour wore on. They came and listened to Ephraim as he trained them, and a local pastor was there helping us, who was also spreading the projects in those rural communities. The people were really open because they drink water that's rainwater that runs along the ground, and they catch it in a cement spring-like structure and pipe it down to their houses, and they get sick from it with diarrhea, and especially the children and the older people. And so they need the chlorine to knock out the pathogens that's in that surface rainwater. So Ephraim did a good job, and he shared the gospel, and they prayed together. Many of them recommitted their lives or received Jesus there. And they talked about the animal microloans, and you'll see a picture of a number of them signed up in a book that they want to participate in the pig or chicken projects. The chlorine generator is going to really change the lives of many, many people in these rural places, and that's why we go. You can see the test strip checking the chlorine level in the water as we treated it. These people need their health to improve from the chlorine solution. They also will make a little money on selling the bottles for 50 cents a bottle, and they will be preaching the gospel all over these areas to win people to Christ, to plant new churches and train new leaders. You can see them signing up for the animal projects here. Then in the evening, Debbie trained her second session of training. They got the sound system connected. Bob did a good job there, and Beta helped them do the translations. And they got everything sounding much better, so the musicians and the singers can hear themselves through a monitor and stay on key much better than before. On Thursday, we went out to another rural community about an hour from Panama, And you can see how beautiful it is there. It's like the jungle in the backyard of this house where we did the training. They had their chickens running around the house, and we met here on this porch for the training, and people began to gather. And Radamet, the young pastor who is distributing chlorine generators in this area, and Ephraim did the training. They do a very good job, and they cover the chlorine generator and the animal microloans, and they also preach the gospel to these people. And it ended up that many of them weren't Christians, but they received Jesus after the projects were presented. And so there's good work going on there in the hills and valleys of rural Panama, and these two guys are really making a difference. You could see they're testing the water with the chlorine strips, and then the people are drinking the water after it's been treated to see if they like it, and they always do. And they're happy to get started. These are raising their hands to receive Jesus. Several of them signed up to take chlorine generators, and even more for the chicken and pig projects that we do along with the safe water projects. So we're thankful that the people are responding, and we give all the glory to the Lord. And Debbie had another successful worship team training on Thursday night. Things are moving right along for that team. So on Friday, we went back out on our final rural outreach to this place that ended up on gravel roads. We had to park the van because there was a river there and we couldn't cross it in the van, so we walked across a cement bridge and about a quarter-mile walk up into the village where we ended up doing the training under a little roof that apparently they use for the church meetings or some kind of meetings. There were two brothers who came along with us who are minister up in this area. It's our coffee beans drying in the sun, and you could see Jim and Ephraim arriving up that last hill. This is the place we met before the people showed up, and they started to come and gathered after a few minutes, and Ephraim adequately trained the folks with, and Beira helped, and we got them chlorine generator training as well as animal project training, and they really were excited about both, and many signed up to participate in both projects. And got a lot of little kids there, and as we know, that the bad water affects the children more and the elderly more, as well as the sick people. So we were able to show them how the chlorine works, and they signed up in this book. Many of them signed up for the projects. Friday night, I preached at Ephraim's church on Matthew 10, beginning in verse 16, about the serious nature of following Jesus, the need for first love, even in the midst of persecution. And I called the people to come and pray, to commit themselves to first love for the Lord, no matter what the cost. And almost everybody came up to begin seeking the Lord, that they might be faithful and endure to the end and be saved. Mark and Ginny Koki came and met us at Ephraim's church on Saturday morning and had the chlorine generator training, and they are now connected to be involved in this ministry in other parts of Panama.